Hello everyone, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. In this video, we are going to talk about Scaffolding.net Web API powered by EFCore, that is Entity Framework Core, and database management software, that is either an SQL Server or SQLite. We're going to do this in a second. We're not going to waste time. Okay, as soon as you hear scaffolding, what comes to mind? That is automated. Yeah. So one good thing about this Visual Studio is there's a new feature that is scaffolding items. Now, when you scaffold items, it automatically detects and create all the CRUD operations. Now, if you don't know what CRUD operation is, that is create, read, update, and delete. When you create an API, you definitely need CRUD operation because you have to create data, you have to read data or get data from database, you have to update it, and you have to also make a delete. So that is what we call as CRUD operation. So instead of you to create all this yourself, creating your context, that is a connection string, performing migration, aside from that, creating your models and your tables. Also, after performing your migration, you can just test your data as well. Now, all these things that I am talking of, context, DB context creation, database migration, database update, controller creation. You see, all these things are done automatically. What you need to do here is to create your model, and that's all. So this video, we're going to take a look at on it, and by the end of this video, you're going to love it. You can create application, you can create a web API without wasting time to type all these CRUD operations. Just go for the scaffolding items, and boom, you are done. You don't have to add a few things or few touches that you want to do, and you're good to go. Let's have a look. So I have a Visual Studio 2022 open or launched. Now I'm going to create a new project, so I'll click on new project. You can also do the same. You can also open your Visual Studio and then create a new project. Now this project, we're going to create a web API project. So let's assume we have application already. We have and we need a database. So we are creating our web API. Now, whether you're using a Blazor, using ASP.NET Core, you can still use an API for any. So by creating this API, it can use this API for all the pages or the application that you're going to create or the project that you're going to create. Okay, so let's see. Now, click on this tab and I can select Web API. So ASP.NET Core Web API, click on next. Then I'm going to give it a name as maybe Scaffold. So I have Scaffold.web API. So that is the name of the API. This is the location and this is the solution name. So click on create to get it created. So let's wait. We need to select a .NET framework version, and now we are going for 7.0. So you choose 7.0 for now, and now click on create. So let's wait while the project is being created. So as you can see, the project is now ready, now created. So let's click on this button to run this project and see. So I'll click on this. It seems there's something loading, so let's wait for a while to get loaded. Yeah, so I'll click on this, you get it built. Now we wait. This is the default one. When you create a default web API, when you run it, this is what you're going to have, because we haven't done anything. That is but just creating a project and I'm running it. So what you're going to have here is a default for every your web API project of what? .NET 7.0, I think so. And even 6.02, Yeah, so let's wait and see. Yeah, so you can see that it is ready now. Now the default setting that we have here, it is a weather forecast, and that is what we have in our API. So here it is only a GET request and to get some sample data of this forecast controller. Yeah, so get it a default one. Now let's try to talk about or practice the scaffolding of items or scaffolding items in this web API. Now to do that, let's go to our project, Solution Explorer. Now let's right click on the project folder. So that's the scaffold.web API. And now here you can see we have an add button here. Click on this. Now you can see we have a link here known as new scaffolded item. So this is what I am talking about. So click on this. So here, let's go for an API and let's choose, you want to perform all the CRUD operations and also write an endpoint, that is a controller. So using an EFCore. So let's choose this. Then, so if we choose this, you can see that from here, it's going to create all the CRUD operations or the CRUD endpoint. That is a create, read, update, and delete endpoint, given a model class and database context. Okay, so it means we have to provide database context and a model. Now we haven't created a model yet. So what can we do? Let's go in there and create a model first, then we come back to this. So I'm going to cancel this. Now let's create a folder, and now the name of this folder is going to be models. So there's the models. Now we're going to create a model about customer. So we're going to have some properties under customer. So click on add. Let's add a class. Now the name of this class is going to be customer. So we pass in customer. Now you make sure it is a class. So you're going to have some properties such as ID, name, maybe address, and also email. Okay, so there's our model, there's our namespace. Now public class is a customer. So let's have so public, and that is integer. So this is ID. Now let's have name. So here it is string, and that is name. Let's have an address. So string here, and that is address. So let's clear this off. And now you can add last one as phone number. Okay. So let's assume these are the requirements of the customer: ID, name, address, and phone number. But you know, with the ID, we are going to provide the ID. Okay. So when creating a database or when creating data into a database, user do not have to provide an ID because that's a new one. But if the database or the data has been created already, meaning there's a data and there's an ID, because that is what we're going to use to fish out or search through the field and get the corresponding data. Now we have our models ready. Let's save this. Let's go to Solution Explorer. Now right click on Scaffolding Items here. That's the project, and I go to Add. new scaffolded items, and I will go in for this API. Now with the last one, endpoints. So the name that we're going to give to this is going to be a customer endpoint. So this dialog box that you can see from here, let's choose a model. So that's the customer. Now our endpoint, so we have customer endpoint, click on add, and our DB context here, we have DB context. No, so click on this, and now you see it has automatically generated one for us. Now click on add, and now the database provider that we're going to use here, you can see we have SQL Server, we have SQLite, PostgreSQL, this is a PostgreSQL, and you can see we have this Azure Cosmos DB. So which one that you want to use? But for now, let's use this SQL Server. Now click on add, and now let's wait. So we see from here, it has to install some packages here. So you have to make sure you are connected to the internet, because it has to install the packages that we need. Now we see the first package that is installing here, it is the code generation.design. Aside from that, we're going to install the entity framework, core.tools, and also the database design that you are using. So you're using an SQL Server, and you need to install the SQL Server as well. Okay, so you have to make sure you are connected to the internet before you perform this, because these packages have to be installed. So let's wait while they are all installing here. Alright, so once it is done, you can see it is now building the project. So let's wait while the project is being built. This means that all the dependencies have been installed. So when it's built, we're going to check through these dependencies and see the NuGet packages that have been installed automatically. So here, we don't have to install this by ourselves. It is done by the Visual Studio. Okay, and that is what requires scaffolding of our item. So when you add that, automatically does everything for you. And within a few seconds or few minutes or few time, you're going to be able to finish whatever that you want to do, because of what? The way this scaffolding item says. So it actually helps us to work on time. Yeah, so let's wait while the project is being building. Then we run it to see what's going to happen next. Alright, so you can see that we have an endpoint, and that is a customer endpoint. Now there is a controller. So you can see it is map group. You can see we have the route here, and that's a controller API/customer, and there's a customer is the name of our controller. You can decide to change this, okay? But for this demo purpose, let's maintain the API route here. So you can see this is get. So get the route here, it is what? Local, because that's the get first one. So get all customers. Now you can see get it with what? ID, and the name is get customers by ID. Now the next one is put, and it is accepting an ID, and now here is update customer. Okay, and also you can see we have post, and now here it is create customer. Delete, and now here it is what? Delete customer. So these are the various action methods that we have in this endpoint. Okay, now you are done with this. What can we do again? We can run this application, but when you run it, we're going to have some slight issues here. Let's try this and see. So I'm going to click on this to run this application. Then we see what's going to happen next. So I am running it, and that is the browser here. So it's going to open up. It is opening. Good. So you will see we have all the endpoints here. We have all the cloud operations. Now let's try to get all customers. Now since the data is empty, it means there's no customer here. But let's try this out. Execute. Let's what we're going to have. We're going to have an error. Okay. And maybe we're going to explain after you've seen the error. So let's wait while it's been executing to get us the result. All right, so now it has done executing. Let's go and see. So we see we have connection timeout. So as you can see from here, this could be the pre-login handshake field. Okay, so or the server was unable to respond back in time. So the server was unable to respond back in time, meaning we have server issue here, database and server issue. Now, the reason why we are having this is we have not performed database migration. We need to perform migration for our models to get created in a database as a table and also update it as well. So let's go to our project. Now let's try that. Click on Solution Explorer and now come to connected services. So double click on that. And now the default one you're going to have here, it is an SQL server Express, and that's local DB. So here we are going to add migration. So click on add migration. So let's click on add migration here. And now this is going to retrieve available DB context from our namespace here. But before that, we must close this. It's really supposed to run, so we have to close it before it can retrieve the context class name for us. So I'm going to close this as well, and let's wait to get it over here. Now there's a name for the migration, so you can start to change this name to anything that you want. By the for class name, it is there, so it's going to grab it up, and we can now move on with it. So retrieving available DB context from class names. So let's wait. Okay, so you see that it was able to locate our DB context, and that is the Scaffold Web API context. So we click on finish, and this is going to get us the database migration. So instead of here passing .NET EF database migration, no, we don't do that. This Visual Studio here is going to do that for us automatically. So you can see from the onset, you can see we haven't done anything seriously. It's only that we did the models and that's all. The rest is just a click, 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 click. So you see this is very simple and very fast. Okay. So once you're done with this, let's perform database migration. And now with the same place, update database. And now let's wait for DB context class name as well. Then click on finish or next to get the database updated. So now it has also found the DB class name. Click on finish, and now this is going to update the database. So our table is now ready, and now let's see what we're going to do here. So you can see it is running EFCore tools. Now you can see that when doing it manually, you have to install tools, anti-framework core.tools, and now that is what it is running over here. So this means that that tool has been installed by this application. Okay, so when you go to Solution Explorer, and if you check on dependencies and you get packages, you're going to find it over there. Let's see. So close this, Solution Explorer, dependencies, you get packages over here. And you see we have all the packages over here. So although it is automatic, we don't have to write anything, but guess these packages installed too. Okay. All right, now we have this. So let's go in there and run this application and see what we can do now. So we're going to pass in some data as a post, delete, and also get, and see if the scaffolded system that we are using to create our controller and an API is actually good enough to help us build the application. So get all, since it is empty, I must have an array of objects and empty array of objects. So I must have like one here and close, nothing in between. Good. So we say I have this and empty. The status code is returning here is 200. That is okay. So that is it. Now let's see with post. Let's try to. So you can see we have it right here. Now let's put something. So this is customer 1. Let's try this out first. So this customer 1. So address. So you see we have street. So 4B. And now phone number. So 24. Alright. So now we have this. Let's click on post. Now you see when adding, you don't need to, you can decide to set an ID to 0 or you can decide to click the ID as well. But this is still work. So execute this. And now let's see. Okay, so as you can see from here, we have a failed to read parameter customer from the request by the annotation. So let's see. So if value in there before 2. Okay. So let's try that again. And now let's take off this 0 first, since it is integer. And now let's click on execute. Let's see the outcome here. Oh, okay. So we see we have it over there. Now let's go for the other one. That is get customer ID. And I will pass in ID of 1. Click on execute. And like you see, we have the same ID. And now you can also update this. And you can also delete this as well. So let's pass in 1. And now click on execute. And now you can see it is done, because you can see that the status code is 200. And now it's okay. And now the object found is not found. Okay, because the object is gone. So it is no more there. Now when you go to the get method to get all data from database, let's see what's going to happen. So this get. Now at first we used to have 1 data in, but currently it is empty because we deleted the data that we had earlier on. Yeah, so that is it. You can see with just a click, you don't need to type anything, just a click, and the only thing I need to do is to create your models, and that's all. Everything is going to be worked on by this scaffolding item. So I think it's good to use that. Yeah, it's good to use it. So that is what I want to show you in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up. You can also share and leave your suggestions under the description, and you attend to in case there's any problem too, you can do that. Since there's just a particular one, and here you need to use using of scaffolding items, I'm not going to provide any GitHub link for download according to your for this video. There's no link like that, because it is just a click to get it automatic done. So that is it. Thank you so much, my friends, and I'm going to catch you up in the next video.